A very good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindu editorial analysis for proficiency in English. As usual, let us start with the snippets. The very first one, Jairam Valley attack, Congress insiders aided 2013 ambush Nadda. It goes with something like, you can say, there's one important word here, ambush. Ambush means what? Someone hides behind somewhere and suddenly attacks, pounces upon. Then we say ambush. Good morning to all of you. Ambush, an important word. Usually it goes with predators, big cats, lion, tiger, all these. It also goes with warfare. When it comes to militants, sometimes they try to ambush the soldiers. Our soldiers try to ambush the terrorists. Important word you have to remember. It goes with accusation. Nadda accusing Congress insiders aided 2013 ambush. An important word you have to remember. Coming to the next one. Looks like it got stuck. Okay. Let us go to the next one. Predators, very good. Who is this aspirant? Controversial definition. Protest break out in Rajasthan to save Aravalis. There's one important phrasal verb here, break out. And you all know when you see the word protests, what you have to recollect. Protest, procession, slogans, placards, all these words. And why is this important? They have given many a time. What is the meaning of the phrasal verb break out? Break out means to start suddenly. It goes with war, clashes, fights, protests, fire, diseases, volcanic eruptions. All these you have to recollect. I've given many a time. Coming to the next one, SC reprimand, an important word. What is the meaning of reprimand? Scold, chide, admonish, reprimand. All these words you have to think of. Bank exams have given many a time these words. Reprimand, admonish, scold, chide, important words. Scold is a simple word. Uttarakhand government mute spectator to land grab. We have two words here, mute, grab. Mute means silent. What does it mean? Silent. Mute spectator means silently someone watches. We say mute spectator. And what is the word grab? Take something using force. Grabbing something. Grab can be positive, can be negative. Coming to the next one, the right to work. An important expression here, death knell for the rural job guarantee. Death knell means the final sting that kills something. Death knell. Yes, Vishnu. Mute means silent. Death knell for the rural job guarantee. Fiscal prudence likely to stifle work demand. Fiscal prudence, important. Fiscal, financial, and prudence, being wise, wisdom. Fiscal prudence may do something, likely means may, possibility is there, to stifle work demand. Stifle means to restrict, to curtail, to suffocate. An important word, stifle. An important article you should go through. Coming to sports, in control, women in blue look to extend the lead. Related to cricket, they look to extend the lead. Simple words. What is the main headline from today's The Hindu paper? India and New Zealand conclude trade talks. Trade talks between two countries, India and New Zealand, they conclude. Talks are over. Simple words, nothing to recollect, nothing to learn as such. Coming to US is pursuing third oil tanker near Venezuela. Some problem over there. Based on that, this simple words, nothing to learn as such. Bhupesh Baghel's son got 200 crore in scam, says ACB. We all know the word scam, something illegal and not lawful. We use the word scam, financial scam. Quite often you come across this word. Coming to the next one, VBG, Ramji and overdue repair, BJP tells Sonia. An overdue repair, something that is got delayed, then we use the word overdue. You have to read the article, only then you can make out. Ahead of Kerala polls, UDF to take in Trinamool JRP. UDF to take in Trinamool and GRP. It goes with Kerala election. Scandal also you can think, yes, aspirant. And who is this? Kumar. Conclude, complete. Very good. We have a pic over here. You can make out so much smoke. Delhi's burden. When you see the word burden, you should also think of the word liability. Delhi's liability, Delhi's burden. What is this burden? Perilous road. There's one important word, perilous. We have got many a time perils of life, perils of big city. Means dangers. What is the meaning? Danger. Yes. Perilous road, a layer of smog is seen over moving traffic in the ITO area in Delhi on Monday morning. Air quality remains in the very poor category with an air quality index AQI reading of 366 according to the Central Pollution Control Board. Delhi has this problem, you all know. I have done a few editorials as well. Coming to the other headline, one more top leader of July uprising shot at as Bangladesh faces turmoil. Uprising shot at faces turmoil. Uprising. When people revolt, we use the word uprising. You can also think of the word upheaval. But upheaval goes with natural disasters as well. People uprising, you can think of the word upheaval. Natural disaster wreaks havoc, then also you can think of upheaval. Large scale destruction. Shot at, remember the preposition, very important. And turmoil, political turmoil. I have given many a time. What is the meaning of turmoil? It means disturbance. Political turmoil means political disturbance. Turbulence also you can think of. Coming to the next one, Russian general killed in car bomb attack in Moscow, hours after peace talks in US. Something strange and not expected. Russian general killed in car bomb attack in Moscow hours after peace talks in US. Paradoxical. Core sector grew at 1.8% in November, says Center. That's all from the front page. Let us go to today's editorial. Someone commented rather, the words are not clear, pics are not clear, the newspaper especially. But what if many students complain, there is a problem at our end. One student says that there is a problem at his or her end. My suggestion, try to check your settings. Based on the settings, you can decide something is clear, not clear. Please check your settings, and for us it is clear, means no issue as such. Today's editorial I'm going to present from the newspaper as it is, and an important one. That's why I had to step up. Step up means to come forward to do something, to intensify your efforts. When you try to intensify your efforts, you can say step up. You come forward to do something, step up. Step up what? Who should step up here? You cannot make out, you have to read this one. CSR as corporate obligation can support costs of restoring grasslands. First of all, you have to know what the letters stand for. I am sure many of you know. Then, video resolution also, you have to check your settings. Obligation, restoring grasslands. This editorial is an important one. Why is it important? It deals with environment on the one hand, on the other hand, corporate social responsibility. It also deals with conservation efforts related to a particular species in the state of Rajasthan, an important editorial, and there's so much to learn. You may get as a passage. That way also it is important. CSR, what do the letters stand for? Corporate Social Responsibility. It's a general expression, but this editorial says the court has brought in environmental conservation under CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility. That is something new and a good dimension, good step. Obligation, you all know. How do you express obligation in English? We have two helping verbs or models. One, must. It is used to express a personal obligation or an obligation imposed by the writer or speaker. Second, have to or has to. We use this one, third person singular has to, other pronouns have to. We use this when the obligation is imposed by an external authority or a situation. External authority or a situation, have to or has to. Both you have to remember, they have given many a time. CSR as corporate obligation can support cost of restoring grasslands, goes with a particular ecosystem. Which one is that? Grasslands. But how does it start? How does it go? The December 19 judgment by a Supreme Court bench placing corporate environmental responsibility inside the legal meaning of corporate social responsibility CSR reframes how the court reads CSR in Indian company law while continuing its attempts since 2021 to reduce deaths of great Indian bastards from power infrastructure. I don't know how many of you know a particular bird species. What is it? Great Indian bustards. Rajasthan. Where do you find them? Rajasthan. They have been endangered, they have been threatened, jeopardized because of power infrastructure. There's a backdrop information. And here the court considers corporate environmental responsibility, a new dimension, CEP. Usually we talk about CSR, corporate social responsibility. Here CER, what do the letters stand for? Corporate environmental responsibility within the framework of CSR. The very interesting thing and also useful from environmental conservation point of view, that December 19 judgment by a Supreme Court bench placing, these are the key words, placing what? Corporate environmental responsibility, CER, inside the legal meaning of corporate social responsibility, CSR. Reframes how the court reads CSR in Indian company law while continuing its attempts since 2021 to reduce deaths of great Indian bastards from power infrastructure. It seems the court has been trying to reduce the deaths of the great Indian bastard since 2021. And which tense is this? Whenever you see, you have to see since or for, you have to think of present perfect continuous. Since specific for a time period. Since 2021, it seems, the bench has treated present perfect active voice. The bench has treated the CSR regime. Regime has different meanings. You all know one meaning, current government. We use the word regime. But another meaning of regime, system. Tax regime, CSR regime means system. CSR regime as an enforceable obligation rather than an undertaking at company's discretion, while also reading social responsibility to include environmental and wildlife protection through the Companies Act itself. This is something very important. Because of this, we can expect there's some hope the species to survive and conservation efforts may shoot up. What does it say, this sentence? The bench has treated the CSR regime as an enforceable obligation. That means courts can enforce enforceable obligation rather than an undertaking at company's discretion. When we look at CSR, it looks like If company wants, they can spend money on corporate social responsibility by protecting a particular species or protecting environment or adopting a particular village or taking care of downtrodden or marginalized people. But the code says it can be enforceable obligation, not based on company's discretion. Discretion means here judgment. Now the company cannot decide. The ball is not in the court of the company. The ball is in the court of the law or the court itself. Court can decide, and company cannot decide whether to spend money on CSR or not, while also reading social responsibility to include environmental and wildlife protection. All these days, when we looked at CSR, too general. Now specific, it includes two more dimensions. What are they? One is social responsibility includes what? Environmental and wildlife protection. Through the Companies Act itself, based on that enforceable obligation, not based on the company's discretion. That's a good thing. According to the court, a corporation as a legal person shares a duty under Article 51AG, which means spending CSR funds on environmental measures, can be framed as discharging one's constitutional obligation rather than engaging in charity. This is also the same point is being elaborated. In the past, CSR was looked upon as something like charity. Now it cannot be looked upon as charity. It is like constitutional obligation. They have to spend money. According to the court, a corporation as a legal person, better word would have been as a legal entity. That would have been a better word. A legal person, better word is what? As a legal entity, shares a duty under Article 51AG, which means spending CSR funds on environmental measures can be framed as discharging one's constitutional obligation, no longer charity. If the company spends money on CSR, they are doing related to constitution, following or implementing constitutional obligation, not charity, rather than engaging in charity. For great Indian bustards, coming to the species that is in the limelight, since 2021, court has been trying to protect, reduce the number of deaths. The great Indian bustards. For great Indian bustards, the court has thus strengthened, present perfect active voice. The court has thus strengthened the legal basis for conservationists to demand corporate financing for projects to recover species endangered by corporate activity. Based on this legal dimension, now conservationists, NGOs can demand money from the corporates to protect the great Indian bustard. Because power infrastructure, companies are responsible and they have to shell out the money. The legal basis for conservationists to demand corporate financing for projects to recover species endangered by corporate activity. Species endangered by corporate activity and endangered, threatened, jeopardized. We don't do anything, then the species becomes extinct. You should recollect that word as well. The court's 2021 interim order, for the time being, we use the word interim order, restricted overhead transmission lines across 99,000 square kilometers and required a committee-led approach to feasibility and undergrounding. It seems the court has given a verdict. What does it say? The court's 2021 interim order, not verdict, order. What does the order say? Restricted overhead transmission lines. We are dealing with power infrastructure related to that. Restricted overhead transmission lines across 99,000 square kilometers and required a committee-led approach to feasibility and undergrounding. Feasibility means possibility and undergrounding. In 2024, it constituted an expert committee to balance species protection with climate commitments and renewable energy build out, which the new order has operationalized. Here we have constituted, an important word. What does it mean? Formed. Expert committee, collective noun. Balance two things: species protection with climate commitments and renewable energy build out, which the new order has operationalized. That means it has become active. It talks about the same thing: constitute, form. In 2024, it constituted an expert committee to balance two things: species protection with climate commitments and renewable energy build out, which the new order has operationalized. Again, present perfect active voice. If CSR and project linked financing become easier to compel, they can support the recurring costs of breeding and releasing chicks and of restoring grasslands and maintaining them. If this becomes a reality, what is the positive impact? The writer talks about the positive impact if, with a condition, if CSR and project linked financing become easier to compel. Here, compel means what? To force the companies, to force the corporations. What is the result? They can support the recurring cost of breeding and releasing chicks, young ones, and of restoring grasslands and maintaining them. All these will become possible if we can compel the companies to shell out money towards environmental conservation. Legally, there is an obligation. Positive impact of this. What is the second part of the editorial? What does it say? However, when you see the word however used quite often, you should think a writer wants to introduce something opposite to what has been said. However, the verdict is also a legal interpretation. It does not specify which companies must pay how much, where, when, and with what audit trail. The penalty for non-compliance will remain according to existing provisions. In a way, it is a loophole. What is it? It is not specific, and some of the pertinent questions haven't been answered. This sentence talks about the same. However, the verdict is also a legal interpretation. When it comes to legal interpretation, it has to be specific. It cannot be ambiguous or vague. If it is ambiguous, then they can take advantage and they can avoid certain things. It does not specify which companies must pay how much, where, when, and with what audit trail. The penalty for non-compliance, compliance means what? To follow the rules and regulations, will remain according to existing provisions. The court's shift from a large area approach, as in its 2021 order, to revise the priority areas also reduces conflict with renewable energy deployments while pushing some of the onus. Onus means what? Responsibility. To the accurate mapping of habitats, an important word. Today we talk about loss of habitat. They have given many a time. Habitat means the home of a plant or an animal, not literally home. It means habitat means the place where a plant or an animal can survive comfortably. And if you imagine deforestation, that results in loss of habitat. The sentence talks about the court's shift from a large area approach, as in its 2021 order, to revise the priority areas also reduces conflict with renewable energy deployments while pushing some of the owners' responsibility to the accurate mapping of habitats. A problem given bastards move around and infrastructure risks can lie outside formal boundaries. When you try to protect a particular habitat, you have to make sure what the habitat of a particular species is. If that is not mapped, that is not identified, then the purpose will be defeated. This talks about mapping the habitats because bustard, it seems, they move here and there, move around, and infrastructure risk can lie outside formal boundaries. The judgment improves a legal position for getting companies to pay for prevention and recovery and specifies a narrower but more detailed habitat and infrastructure plan. Judgment is some sort of improvement from general to specific, from broadly social responsibility to environmental responsibility. The judgment improves a legal position for getting companies to pay for prevention and recovery and specifies a narrower but more detailed habitat and infrastructure plan. Whether it is sufficient will depend less on the doctrine, an important word. Doctrine means what? Philosophy. Philosophy, ideology, we use the word doctrine. Now the writer questions whether it is sufficient will depend less on the doctrine it announces and more on whether governments and utilities can deliver the undergrounding and rerouting work at the required pace. There are two things they have to do. One is undergrounding and rerouting work. Whether they can deliver or not, that is a $1,000,000 question. Whether governments and utilities can deliver the undergrounding and rerouting work at the required pace, at the required speed. Pace means what? Speed. And whether corporate funding translates to outcomes on the ground. Whether whatever the company gives corporate funding translates to outcomes on the ground in reality. Do they change into outcomes, specific outcomes, ground level? That is a question. It ends on that particular question. Very important editorial, very useful, bringing in bringing corporate social responsibility within the framework, specifying corporate environmental responsibility. A new dimension, definitely it has far-reaching consequences, and it is like a ray of hope. Species protection, environmental conservation, all these things will definitely get some sort of boost. That's all for today. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.